So before I decided to run for office, I was a researcher. Naturally, this meant the first thing that I did when I was deciding whether or not I wanted to run was research. Today, I'm going to share with you a few of the resources that I found super helpful, and a couple of these resources are right behind me in that bookshelf. So the first book that I wanted to share with you is The Candidate by Noah Richler. Noah was a NDP candidate in the riding of Toronto-St. Paul's, the riding that I'm going to be running in the 2015 election. This is a hilarious and really interesting book, part how-to manual, part self-deprecating biopic, but really at the heart of it, it goes through the experience of what it was like to run for office, and really specifically with the NDP. It's a really great book if you wanted to get an understanding of sort of the internal politics, what could go wrong during an election, and Noah does a really great job of describing what mattered to him. I have written in the margins of this book many, many times. For example, this is a map of the riding, and you can just kind of see there all the different labels that Noah gives for the different areas and the different neighborhoods, which are obviously in jest, but pretty good. And another thing that I really liked, the organizational structure for Noah's campaign. And obviously, I'm going to dive into how I build a campaign team myself and how do you convince people to actually join this crazy journey with you. But this was really, really, really helpful. One of the best pieces of advice that Noah talks about is to go get a dog and then go to the dog park, because you meet so many people in the dog park. The second book that really inspired me and I just thought was absolutely amazing was this book, A Promised Land by Barack Obama. I can still remember back in 2008 when I was in high school and Barack was running for office for the first time. He really galvanized a lot of people and brought that message of hope and change. And being a high school kid, not really knowing much about the world, I knew that this is someone that I admired, and it was a leader. The thing that I loved the most and what I take away from it was the beginning of the book when President Obama talks about how he is trying to become a senator, all of the community organizing that he did, and how that really helped him set him up for success to become president one day. I will say, though, it's a very long book, so I'm thankful that I read it during the pandemic and during a Christmas break. So those are the two biggest books that I've been reading. There are lots of online resources as well to help you on your journey to run for office. And the two biggest online resources that I found really useful was the Samara Center for Democracy and DemocracyKit. So the Samara Center for Democracy is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that is focused on looking at democracy. Of course, it's in the name. One of the great things that they have on the website is a whole list of MP exit interviews and resources for newly elected MPs. It's a really wonderful place to take a peek and look at what it's like to actually be an MP and understand a little bit more about the job without actually talking to necessarily MP themselves to ask them what it's like. It really showed snapshots of what Parliament was like at different times, and more importantly, how at the end of the day, our members of Parliament, our politicians, are people. They have hopes and dreams and objectives, and every single one of them, I truly believe, got into this because they wanted to make Canada better, or at least the majority of them did. Another amazing resource that I recommend you check out is DemocracyKit. DemocracyKit is a nonprofit that is focused on providing an online resource for campaigners, local municipal campaigns primarily, to help people campaign. They have an online library which includes things like fundraising for municipal campaigns, how to do online canvassing and an online strategy, sample content calendars. This was a great place for me to find actual practical tools with which to start thinking about building a campaign. Now, for many of the larger parties, the NDP, the Liberals, the Conservatives, a lot of this stuff when it comes to data management, etc., even the Green Party has their own data management software. But I really wanted to understand and use this as a learning experience to think about all of the pieces that are needed to build a winning campaign. And more importantly, to think about how to build a new modern campaign using technology in ways that people perhaps haven't used before. Finally, one of my most favorite pieces of inspiration and research was Knock Down the House, the 2019 Netflix documentary which chronicled the journey of 4 female progressive Democratic candidates in the 2018 congressional election in the United States. The reason, of course, that I love this documentary was because of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or commonly known as AOC. AOC really stormed the world by bringing a new sense of energy and passion and youth to politics. Lots and lots of people have been trying to emulate this over the course of elections since, and few people have been able to capture that lightning in a bottle that AOC has. One of the things that I've actually learned from watching her is to be authentic and true to yourself. The mistake that people make is they try to be more like AOC, when what they should really be doing is how to be the most authentic and transparent and worthy version of yourself. So I've focused on being the best Phil DeLuna and most transparent Phil DeLuna that I can be, while still looking at other sources like AOC for inspiration. Lastly, the most important research that you can do is to talk to people who have actually been politicians. Throughout my relatively short career and the organizations and communities that I've been a part of, Massey College at the University of Toronto, the Action Canada Fellowship in the community through the Public Policy Forum and Action Canada, I've had the opportunity to meet a few people who have actually done politics for a living. And I spent a lot of time just asking them about their experience, and beyond asking them for help, really just asking to hear their story. I can still remember a conversation that I had with Jane Philpott a couple of years ago. It was winter, there was a crispness in the air, and we were having coffee in a Toronto park in the middle of the day. I asked her about politics and her brief but really impactful time in it. And she said to me, you can accomplish more in 10 minutes as a minister in government than you could in 10 years on the outside. That really struck me, and it stayed with me since. I think there is so much that you can do in government, and I think that we need good leaders in government. I have spent many hours reading books, watching YouTube videos and vlogs, and reading newspaper articles, and getting on the phone with people, and just talking to folks about politics. And there came a point where I realized that after every conversation, I just left feeling more excited and energized than before. I think in life, we have to think about the things that give us energy. And for me, what gives me energy is talking to people, communicating with others, having an impact on a community, changing things up, learning new things, and always moving forward, never standing still. I hope this helped paint a picture of the kinds of resources that you could use as well to think about running for office. I talked about the books that I really enjoyed reading. One was written about a campaign run in the riding I want to run in, which was just amazing. I also talked about a few of the online resources like the Samara Center and DemocracyKit, which I think you should definitely check out. And then finally, I spoke about the people. And at the end of the day, the most important research that you can do is a conversation.